What's going on, you guys? Welcome on back to the channel. Now, the newest episode of My Hero Academia Vigilantes just dropped, and honestly, this was actually a really good episode. What I like about it is that it's showing that the overarching plot of My Hero Academia Vigilantes is finally in full swing. Season 1 kind of felt like the preamble, and we were getting some things that were set up back then. Now everything, it feels like, is coming to light. Everything's coming to the surface, and it looks like we're building up now to something bigger. And honestly, man, like, I'm excited to see where it goes next. So let's get into it. Let's talk about this newest episode of My Hero Academia Vigilantes. So the main thing that I really like about this episode is, one, I like that the crab girl, I think her name's Koichi. I like that she has a really cool quirk. I like her like scissor quirk. I thought it was pretty cool. She's kind of a cool character. I've grown on her recently. Last episode, I didn't really care about her that much. This episode, she's really grown on me. I find her to actually be a pretty good character. She's well written. I like her dynamic with FatGum. So I kind of hope she becomes more of a recurring character as the show goes on. Next, dude, they're crushing it with FatGum. This is honestly the best that FatGum has been since probably what, season 4 of My Hero Academia. FatGum was always a great character, like in the original My Hero Academia. Like, I loved what he was doing, like especially in his fight with Rappa and all that. But after that, FatGum doesn't really do much in terms of like being relevant to the story, right? He kind of like he's kind of just there to like carry people and stuff like that. He doesn't really do much in terms of like fighting or being involved in this much stuff. Sure, he's like present in the war and all that, but he's not really the central focus, and he's not, and especially since like the overhaul arc, he hasn't really been like that big of an influence in the narrative. What I like about this episode is that Fat Gum is actually important, right? Fat Gum is finally made like central to the story, central to the narrative going on, and that is so cool to me. I like the fact that he's able to just break apart the crab, like the malfunctioning crab things, and I especially like that he's the reason why like the that main one doesn't blow up, right? I like the fact that we get to see his shock absorption like being utilized in a cool way. We haven't really seen it utilized like that again since like season 4. So seeing his quirk being utilized in such a cool way is honestly perfect for me, because I'm a Fat Gum fan. He's always been one of my favorite characters in MHA. I always thought his quirk was so cool. So getting to see it be utilized in new ways is honestly great. And I really hope that Fat Gum continues to be like a character that's present within the narrative. That's what I like about Vigilantes. Characters can kind of come in and out whenever the story needs them. So I do hope that Fat Gum is a character that's going to be recurring at this point, right? I hope he's just going to keep showing up, because Fat Gum is great. This is the best he's ever been, in my opinion, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with him. Now, moving on from the Fat Gum of it all, I also like, kind of like in the same vein, I really love what they're doing with Koichi, right? We're seeing more of Koichi's quirk again, evolving more. We're seeing him like being able to stick to things even more proficiently than he was before. We get to see him like again launch himself. Like, really cool stuff is going on with Koichi. And I'm honestly looking forward to seeing like how he develops his quirk more. Like, is he going to be able to use it like in more defensive ways? Is he going to find like more offensive capabilities with his quirk now that he can do some of this stuff? I'm really curious to see what they do with him, because his quirk is kind of like the sky's the limit, right? Like with One for All, like, yeah, like there was different quirk factors to it, like with Black Whip and all that, but the main thing was like it gives you like great, it gave him great physical strength. So what I'm looking forward to with Koichi is seeing how like his quirk can kind of branch off and be different things, right? He doesn't have One for All, but his quirk has so many different things that we didn't know were possible. He's got the sliding aspect to it. He can launch himself. He can stick to things. And as we all know, he has the potential to fly. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he brings all these different aspects of his quirk together and integrate it into like actually like complex skill set. That's what I'm most looking forward to. Koichi has so much potential as a character. So getting to see what he does with his quirk is something that I feel like is going to be so great during this season of My Hero Academia Vigilantes because Koichi is like honestly grown on me a lot, right? I Knuckle Duster was my favorite character in season one. Like I didn't really like care about Koichi too much. Yeah, I liked Koichi, but I always thought Deku was the better character. Koichi is growing on me. I'm really enjoying his character arc. I'm enjoying his storyline, and he's honestly become one of my favorite characters now in My Hero Academia. So I'm looking forward now to seeing what they do with Koichi, how they continue to develop him, what they do next with his quirk. Like I said, the sky is the limit with Koichi. Like he's become such a cool protagonist. So I'm looking forward now to seeing what they do with him next. Now, moving on from that, dude, everything with Tsukauchi and I think the new villain that's named like Six or something like that. This that villain is so cool. All right, this is probably the coolest villain that we have had in My Hero Academia in a long time. Like I liked All for One and I loved Shigaraki, but this guy's quirk is so cool to me. The fact that he can kind of just like freeze time and all that, he can move like at the speed of light, like that is cool to me. That's actually really cool. He's kind of like the Flash in a way. Like we kind of have somebody with a Flash quirk and like dude, like what else can this guy do? Like I feel like we're not even like tapping the surface or even just scratching the surface with this guy and his quirk. Like there's so much more that I feel like we're going to see with this guy because this guy, if I remember correctly, he's been foreshadowed since season one, right? They showed him in like the very first episode of season one or something like that. So, but he's kind of been like in the shadows. So now that he's like come into the light, I'm wondering now, what are we gonna do with him? Right? His quirk is so complex and so cool that I feel like he has to be Koichi's adversary, right? Because they both have cool and unique quirks. And honestly, this guy strikes me as kind of like a Shigaraki S type villain, right? Who's going to be going up against like the main protagonist. So I think the sixth guy has to be like Koichi's nemesis or at least adversary throughout this season. Does he stay his adversary throughout the rest of the show? I have no idea. But a Koichi and this guy dynamic has the potential to be very cool to me, right? This is kind of something I feel like has been lacking from Vigilantes, kind of like an overarching villain that our protagonist has to contend with. What I liked about My Hero, like Academia, was that Deku had Shigaraki, right? There was two sides of the same coin. So I felt like that was missing for Koichi because even though Koichi's a vigilante, he's just like a normal college student as well. So it was kind of makes sense that he didn't really have like a nemesis or anything like that. But now that things in vigilantes are heating up, right? I'm waiting for these two to cross paths because what happens when Koichi and Six cross paths? Obviously, I feel like it's going to create that new dynamic that I've been looking for. And it's like the new villain and hero dynamic. Like, but what I also like and what could also create new layers is that since Koichi is a vigilante, is he going to have support from say the police or is he kind of or is he going to have like an arc where he could potentially be turned by Six since he's a vigilante, he's not really a full-on hero. That's one thing that could be really cool because I like Koichi a lot, but if you create an element in the story where he could potentially be like turned to the dark or whatever, that has the potential to be a really good twist within the narrative, and that's something that I hope they pursue because we know from Tsukauchi that he has a very strict moral code, right? He does not believe in vigilantes or anything like that. You're either a hero or you're a villain to him. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he contends with like the crawler with Koichi because Koichi may be a vigilante, yes, but he's fighting for good. He's fighting for the light. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that whole dynamic between the two of them really plays out, right? I feel like that's kind of like a Batman and Jim Gordon kind of situation. So again, that's another thing that I'm really looking forward to seeing playing out. Like, and how does like Tsukauchi change? Like, does Koichi kind of like influence him to think about things in a different light? And dude, well, and also we're gonna move on now from the episode. Overall, man, this episode was great. I love it a lot. It's one of those episodes again that is setting up the narrative to come, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do next with the story because, man, Vigilantes is something special, and I'm looking forward to seeing where this storyline is going to go next. But moving on to the next episode. Next episode looks peak already solely because we're going to see like Toshinori. Not All Might in his All Might form, but just Toshinori Yagi. That is something that I've been wanting for so long. Seeing All Might and Tsukauchi like interact with each other before the events of My Hero Academia, getting to see how this friendship slash partnership has developed over the years. That's something that I feel like has been missing within the narrative, seeing how these two kind of became friends. So I'm looking forward now to seeing more of their dynamic play out. This is kind of like some of my most anticipated stuff along with the Aizawa arc, right? With Aizawa, like there's so much with Aizawa that I feel like is missing from My Hero Academia because you had to read Vigilantes in order to kind of see his arc. Now Aizawa's arc is going to be complete, so I'm really looking forward now to seeing how this Tsukuuchi and Toshinori Yagi stuff continues to play out. Like I hope it's not just for this episode. I hope their dynamic is something that's explored more within the narrative. Like seeing how Tsukuuchi having to keep All Might's secret affects him in a way. I think that would be cool. I think that would be a really cool like dynamic for them to explore. And I hope that's where they're going. I hope we're gonna get to see like I don't want All Might to be like too like omnipresent within the narrative. I think that would detract from what they're trying to do. But I would like it if he just hangs out in like his like original form, right? He doesn't have to be in his All Might form. Just be Toshinori Yagi. Like nobody really has any expectations for him at this point. So I'm kind of hoping that he kind of just chills around. He just hangs out with Tsukauchi and stuff like that. I feel like we will see All Might fight like near the end of the season or something like that. But I would really like it if Vigilantes does something different and they just have Toshinori just be Toshinori without the All Might aspect of it. I think that could be cool. And I would like that a lot. But I think that's going to do it for me. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. How did you guys feel about this episode? Did you guys like it as much as me and see it as a way for the overarching narrative of the story to be fully developed? Or do you guys think differently and this episode isn't your cup of tea? Let me know what you guys think. Like, comment, subscribe. And as always, I'm going to talk to you guys next time. Bye.